Today I will be cutting this haircut. This haircut in my technique is called a long bob. Hi everyone, I'm Eva Lorman. I'm a master and teacher of the beauty industry, so here you go, friends. I will be doing this haircut using my technique of fast cuts called big step. I will be using my favorite scissors with micro serrations and a comb with markings. Step 1. We divide the hair along the central parting. This is the parting that runs down the center of the crown. What to do if the client has a diagonal parting? In my opinion, if we cut this haircut along the central parting, we will achieve beautiful hair when the client flips their hair from right to left or left to right. How is the control point done? You see, the longest part of this haircut at the nape will be the crown area, and it should be longer than the lower hair. In other words, the lower hair is concealed beneath this top section, and we must take this into account. A long bob haircut is when the hair at the nape completely covers the neck. Thus, we will now calculate this length. We've roughly marked the control point, but we've not cutting it. We're just using a clip like this. This is the length of the hair at the nape area. Why did I do this? To understand what length will be here. Because there is no fringe hair, the hair will be quite long. We need to discuss this with the client. Maybe they will not want the hair to hang down right here. It's easy to calculate now. Next, we take these hairs and comb them into this area. These sections will converge. This section is the length of the bangs. Let's look at these lengths. The bangs will be of this size. You can also clip it in place to see the difference in length we will achieve when we cut this haircut. We already have a diagonal haircut forming. Now we've cutting these reference points. If you measure the length of this strand from the hairline, its length will be 10, 11, 12 cm. These parameters need to be discussed with the client. If the parameters are satisfactory, you can stop at this length. Now we're creating the first reference point at the nape. The longest strand of this entire haircut is the bangs. We're creating symmetry on both sides. Next, we'll create this diagonal visually to get rid of these extra long hairs, but this will be done in a simple manner. The essence of this haircut, the diagonal will be continuous, meaning it won't be interrupted anywhere from the center to the right and down, and from the center to the left and down as well. For working with such haircuts, I already use a different comb with markings and pointed end. This pointed end makes it easier to separate sections. Step 2. We are sectioning the hair. This will be the first layer. In total, there will be 3, 4 or 5 layers in this haircut. If the hair is very dense, we can make 5 layers. If the hair is not very dense, then 3 layers will be suffice. It all depends on the hair's thickness. I will have 4 layers. There is a small detail with these layers and how to properly separate these sections. The first layer is separated according to this scheme. Above the ear, a width of at least 2 cm is always delineated. And this layer then extends in width from the hairline by 5 cm. it has a descending diagonal downwards and then upwards again. Next, we clip it and separate the strand on the crown. We've separated this strand, and now let's calculate. Each subsequent layer will be longer than the previous one by 0.5 to 0.7 cm. We have 4 layers. Multiply 4 by 0.5, for example, and we get 2 cm. So this hair will be the shortest in this haircut, and we can now set their length along this strand. So this hair should be shorter than this strand on the crown by 2 cm. We've immediately created this length. Here is the length transition we'll have on the inner side. This is called internal hair graduation. The next step is to create the same reference point here, also 2 cm shorter than this one. We do the same thing on the other side. Next, it's simple, we need to connect this point with that point. All the hair needs to be combed here and cut along a straight line. Here is our reference point, and we've reached it. We do the same thing on the other side. You can ask the client to lower their head and cut the lower layers of these hairs. I have to change the comb to black color so that you can see what I'm doing here. By the way, when you're cutting your client's hair or cutting your oven, you can tilt your head to the opposite side and work on the lower hair for a more even finish. We've cut the first layer, now let's separate the second layer. We cut the first layer, and on the second layer we have a clear view of the first layers. We will now cut the second layer 0.5 cm longer than the first layer. We do the same thing on the other side. Second one is cut. Let's separate the third layers. A very important point, the last layer should be the whitest. It automatically becomes the whitest. However, if the hair is not very dense, try to make the top layers wider than the previous ones. The third layer is cut 0.5 cm longer than the previous one. Cut the third layer, now the 4 layers remains. Let down all the hair. And cut the last layer 0.5 cm longer than the previous one. That's all, the haircut is almost complete. Look at the wonderful symmetry. Now we will blow dry the hair and see what else we can do next. I've blow dried this beautiful girl's hair. No one styles this haircut like this. I'm going to show you now how it's styled. I want to say a few words about refining this haircut. If it seems to you that here there is a lot of hair, that is dense hair, and you want to do some texturizing hair. Under no circumstances should you texturize out the last and previous layers. Only the lower layers can be texturized. The top layers must absolutely not be texturized, or else you will ruin the entire haircut. The peculiarity of this haircut is that its top hair maintains the entire outline shape. In other words, the top hair serves as the foundation for this haircut. These hairs create such a beautiful inward curve and do not interfere with the lower strands. When we cut a bob, even just a single length without internal layering, then try to curl them inward, we can't achieve anything because the upper layers won't allow the lower layers to curl up due to the abundance of hair there. Do you understand? Here the internal layers are soft, allowing the upper layers to lie well. If you are interested specifically in this aspect, you need a reverse graduation. This is for you. This haircut is not styled like this because the hair hangs forward and get in the way. Now watch what we're doing. This is how they were and styled this amazing haircut. It makes you want to hide behind it. See how the hair is styled here. You will think, where did these short hairs come from? from. It's all very simple. These are the hairs from the other side. So we flip the hair and they become shorter hair, and it's these hairs that give this texture, that's relief, you see. And I often notice that when styling such a haircut, they also make it beautiful hair at the bottom, also nice. So the hair is also layered. They don't just hang as one mass, but they also create texture. They have different lengths inside, and this is what creates such texture and such an amazing haircut. This haircut is called a long bob with lengthening. Its distinctive feature is that the lengthening starts from the center of the occipital area and it's cut with reverse graduation. Why am I emphasizing this? Because there are other variations of a similar bob haircut, but the lengthening starts not from the center of the occipital area but from different points. I will show you this haircut in the next video. All this math might seem complicated, but in reality these terms like reverse graduation play a crucial role in understanding the differences between various types of haircuts. They help us uncover subtle details that might go unnoticed at first glance. When we begin to see and comprehend these differences, we become capable of cutting haircuts more accurately and professionally. I've delved deeper into the diversity of haircuts and I'm ready to share this knowledge with you. Wow, beauty! Here is the curl of passion. And now I will show you other options for coloring and styling this haircut, and you will see how it can beautifully transform. I dye hair using the balayage technique. By the way, I even practice with a test strand on a doll. On the right side there was a little dark spot. It was the test strand. I recommend everyone to start with this. I do hair coloring in a balayage style. I start the balayage from the occipital area precisely to make this zone darker than the front hair. I apply the dye to the roots and blend it almost halfway down the length. The closer to the crown, the less you need to stretch it. In the lower occipital area, I stretch the dye more than half the length. In the upper occipital area, I stretch the dye to half the length. In the frontal area, I stretch the dye. I apply it only to the roots near the face, and as I move toward the crown, I blend it to half the length, creating a triangular shape. This simple technique allows you to create a very beautiful balayage. After I've done all of this without waiting too long, I immediately use a comb to blend the dye in the occipital area. This is the most time-consuming process. You need to work continuously. Constantly comb the hair until the dye is pulled closer to the ends. If there is not enough dye, you'll need to add more to the roots and blend it again. You need to carefully observe where you've blended the dye and where there was not enough. Otherwise, there might be patches. To avoid this, you need to ensure there is enough dye. I blend in the same sequence as the dye was applied, first in the lower occipital area, then in the upper occipital area, and finally in the frontal area at the front. After this, I don't wait for time to pass. I immediately apply water to the occipital area and blend the dye along the hair in the occipital area with water. Also, also in the same sequence as I applied it. Then I move to the frontal area. About 5 to 10 minutes after we've blended it with water, in the very last area, you can start rinsing off the dye. And now look at what we've got. A very beautiful balayage coloring with gorgeous transitions. Look at how clean it is. There are no patches, everything is very beautiful with smooth transitions, and the haircut looks completely different. On hair that's balayage colored, this haircut will look striking. Notice that the hair in the front near the face is lighter than at the back. This is achieved throughout the sequence I've outlined. In all the steps I've mentioned, I adore this transition, and the hair near the face should indeed be lighter but with darkened roots. Here our beauty! This is our haircut, now as the long bob. Take a look at the other cool hairstyles you can create. By the way, this is my favorite hairstyle. I constantly do this one for myself. And now let's see how the same haircut will look when the hair is curled. Absolutely cool, right? Well, it looks fantastic, very stylish. I hope the video is useful for you. Subscribe to the channel, just click on the bell, and I will make a video for you on this channel and show you all the subtleties of a master and teacher of the beauty industry. Bye bye everyone, Eva Lorman was with you. See you in more new videos.
Hey people, get together, like it and subscribe. I will be with you forever, feel the beauty vibe. Have to cut and have to dye. Hairdresser, yo, it's mine. Don't forget to press the bell, you will